Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into the unsettling details from the sources you've shared about a case that still echoes in Oregon, the disappearance of Jennifer Lynn Carter. It was October 1998. A rainy evening, you know the kind. Shadows get longer, everything feels heavier. Think about Cedar Hill, Oregon. Small town, quiet, lots of trees, rivers. The kind of place where things feel predictable, safe almost.
Where everybody knows everybody pretty much.
Exactly. But that night, that peace was about to break, left a hole that, it's haunted people there for years. So it's 6:00 p.m. Jennifer Lynn Carter, she's 17, leaves her house.
Just a normal job, right? Babysitting?
Right, heading over to the Watsons' place. She looked after their little boy, Charlie, who was 3. She did it all the time.
For over a year, the sources say.
Yeah, she was reliable, kind, always on time. The Watsons trusted her completely, just part of their routine.
Like you could set your watch by her.
Totally. She had absolutely no idea, none at all, that this night would be different, that it would be her last normal evening. Because that night, Jennifer never came home. Fast forward to midnight, the Watsons get back. They're expecting, Jennifer finishing up, maybe reading a last story.
Standard end to a night out.
But what they found, it must have sent a chill right through them. The house, locked from the inside.
Okay, so no forced entry, nothing broken.
Nothing. No broken windows, no kicked-in door. It looked weirdly normal.
Eerily normal.
Her purse was there, just sitting on the couch, like she just put it down. Her jacket, hanging by the door, ready to go.
Okay.
And the storybooks she read to Charlie, stacked up neatly next to his crib. Everything pointed to just a regular babysitting night, interrupted.
But she wasn't there.
The only thing missing was her. Little Charlie Watson, just 3 years old. They found him hours later, crying in his crib.
But, okay, physically unharmed.
Physically fine, yeah. But alone. His babysitter, Jennifer, had just vanished.
And to this day, nobody really knows what happened.
Right. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack this. Look at the investigation, the theories, all those questions that just hang in the air. How does a girl just disappear?
It really makes you question things, doesn't it? Even in a seemingly safe place. So the next morning, Jennifer's parents report her missing. And the police, their first thought,
run away.
Yeah, run away. It's often the first place they look with teenagers, It's common.
But that didn't fly with her family or friends, did it?
Not at all. They shut that down immediately. Vehemently, the sources say.
Yeah.
They painted this picture of Jennifer's straight-A student, really close to her family, responsible.
She'd just gotten into college, too.
Exactly. Her future was looking bright, all planned out, running away. It just wasn't her, not her character at all. This was someone with plans, with roots.
So that insistence, it must have shifted things for the police pretty quickly. Okay, not a runaway. What next? What did they do in Cedar Hill then?
Well, the town, it kind of mobilized. You could feel the tension, this quiet fear everywhere.
I can imagine.
For days, volunteers were out there, combing the woods around Cedar Hill. Dense woods, too.
Hard terrain to search.
Definitely. They brought in bloodhounds. And the dogs, they picked up her scent, followed it down Cedar Grove Road for about half a mile.
Okay, so they had a trail.
They did. Through the damp ground, the leaves, and then it just stopped.
Stopped completely.
Completely. The scent just vanished, like she had plucked right off the path.
Wow, like she just dissolved into thin air.
Pretty much. That's what it felt like.
That must have been incredibly confusing for the searchers, for the police. A scent trail just ending like that, what does that usually suggest?
Well, it often points to a vehicle, right? That she got into a car, willingly or unwillingly. Or maybe a very swift abduction right there that left no more ground scent.
And how did the town react, knowing she vanished from a locked house and then her scent just ends?
It became this quiet obsession, a shadow over everything. People started whispering, did someone get into the house somehow?
Yeah.
Despite the lock?
Or did she step outside, maybe just for a second?
Exactly. To get something, take out trash, maybe see someone off, and was taken then. Every chat seemed to circle back to Jennifer. Every unexplained noise, every shadow.
It sounds like the case really became part of the town's fabric, a constant unsettling reminder.
It really did, a reminder of how vulnerable we can all be, even in places that feel safe.
It's those unanswered questions, isn't it? The how and why that just eat away at people.
So, after the initial search calmed down, what theories started popping up? People must have been trying to make sense of it.
Absolutely. When you don't have facts, you try to build a story, right, to fill that void. A few main theories took root.
Like what?
Well, one was the ex-boyfriend theory. Jennifer had broken up with a guy about 2 weeks before she disappeared.
Okay, that's pretty standard procedure to look at him.
Right, he was one of the first people questioned. Police checked his alibi thoroughly. But, despite the initial focus, there just wasn't any evidence. Nothing solid connecting him to her vanishing.
So they cleared him. Yeah, he was cleared. Another dead end.
Okay, so the ex-boyfriend angle didn't pan out. What else were people thinking? Or what else did investigators look into?
Then there was the truck driver theory. A neighbor mentioned seeing a dark pickup truck parked near the Watson house that night. Seemed out of place. Suspicious.
In a small town like that, an unfamiliar truck would stand out.
For sure. So police followed up, checked trucking routes, asked around, tried to find this truck, this driver.
Any luck?
No driver was ever identified. The sighting just remained a sighting, unconfirmed. It shows how tough these cases are, A witness sees something potentially important, but without more, it just hangs there.
Another dead end. Frustrating. What about the Watsons, the people whose house she was in? Locked from the inside, no forced entry. Did suspicion ever fall on them?
That was probably the toughest one, the inside job theory. Because of those circumstances, the locked door, no break-in. Some people wondered if someone inside the house knew something or was involved.
That must have been awful for the Watsons.
Absolutely. A terrible position to be in, but they cooperated completely with the police. They took polygraph tests.
Which aren't always admissible in court, but can help investigators.
Right, exactly. They passed those tests. And crucially, forensics found nothing inside the house. No evidence pointing to them, no sign of foul play originating from within.
So every theory just fizzled out.
Pretty much. Each lead just went cold, leaving this huge, baffling mystery. And then just silence for a long time.
That silence must have been agonizing for her family. 2 decades went by. Jennifer's case file just sat there, cold. But then, 2018, 20 years later, something changed.
Right.
A new cold case unit.
Yeah, exactly. 20 years. They reopened her file, brought fresh eyes, and crucially, new technology to it. It was this real glimmer of hope, a chance that maybe science could find what people couldn't.
What did they focus on? What was the key piece of evidence they looked at again?
It came down to DNA, tiny traces found on the doorknob of the Watson house.
From the original investigation.
Yes, but back in '98, the sample was just too small. The technology then needed more material. But by 2018, things like touch DNA analysis had come a long way.
Ah, so they can get a profile from just skin cells left behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even microscopic amounts. So they reanalyzed that sample from the doorknob, and they got something. A male profile.
Wow, after 20 years, male DNA on the doorknob. That sounds like a huge break. Did it lead anywhere? An arrest?
It was huge, definitely. Confirmation that an unknown male had contact with that doorknob. But, and this is the frustrating part, the DNA profile, it didn't match anyone in CODIS, the national database.
So they have DNA, they know it's male, but they don't know whose it is.
Precisely. CODIS holds profiles from convicted offenders, arrestees in many places, and crime scenes. No match means this person likely isn't in the system, or wasn't at that time.
So it confirms someone unknown was there, potentially linked to her disappearance, but doesn't identify them.
Right. It told investigators something happened involving an unknown male at that door, but not who. It narrows things down in one sense, but blows the suspect pool wide open in another. Another layer of mystery, really.
So close, yet so far. It's almost more frustrating. But there's another detail, isn't there? Something maybe even more unsettling, that voicemail.
Yes, the voicemail.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those details that just sticks with you, haunts you, maybe.
Tell us about that. It came weeks after she vanished.
About 3 weeks later, yeah. Jennifer's mother received it. Imagine getting a call after weeks of just nothing. Desperate hope.
Absolutely.
But the call itself was strange. The quality was terrible. Really weak signal, lots of static, hard to make out.
And the message?
Through the static, just barely audible, was a young woman's voice, faint. It said, "Mom, please, I'm cold."
Oh my God.
And then silence. The call cut off.
Mom, please, I'm cold. That's just chilling.
Yeah.
And heartbreaking for her mother. Was it ever traced?
Never traced.
Right.
The technology then, the weak signal, impossible to find where it came from.
So how did the police handle that? Such a disturbing but untraceable message.
Officially. They had to dismiss it. Their conclusion was that it was likely a cruel prank.
Oh, break.
Sadly, yes. Horrible people do things like that, prey on grieving families. Without a source, without any way to verify it, investigators often have to consider it a hoax to avoid wasting resources chasing ghosts. It's a pragmatic decision, but obviously devastating for the family.
I can only imagine. But her mother, did she believe it was a prank?
Oh, no. Her mother. She was certain, absolutely convinced. She swears it was Jennifer's voice.
She believes it was her daughter crying out.
Yes. For her, there's no doubt. That one detail dismissed by police just hangs there. It keeps that wound wide open for her mother, that constant question, that flicker of terrible possibility.
What a burden to carry, that uncertainty.
It's unimaginable. It fuels hope and torment at the same time.
And so here we are, years later, Jennifer Lynn Carter's disappearance. It's still one of Oregon's biggest mysteries, isn't it?
Absolutely baffling. We've walked through the search, the theories that went nowhere, the DNA clue that led to another question mark, that haunting voicemail.
But still no answers. The picture is just incomplete. Nobody ever found, no arrests made, nothing definitive to finally close this chapter for her family, who've waited so long.
Decades of waiting.
It was just a 17-year-old girl doing a normal job, babysitting on a rainy night, and then she was gone.
Just vanished, plucked out of her life, leaving only questions. Because sometimes, the quietest towns hold the loudest secrets. Jennifer's case, it forces you to think about how fragile safety really is, how thin that line is between what we know and what we don't.
It really does.
What does a story like this make you think about? But the nature of the unknown, the secrets that might just linger out there. How does someone just disappear, leaving only absence, questions, and maybe, just maybe, a faint voice on a crackling phone line years later?
It makes you realize some mysteries might just stay that way, unsolved.